Eli Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by
Tyree. All right, folks, we're back at Catch the Moment podcast. I'm your host, Tyree. You already know it's really exciting to be back for another episode. We always talk about the process, the pain point, the journey, how to get you to your next point, the journey, so that you can flourish, you can find that perfect peace and good success along the journey. Today I have some new friends. They hot, even though they're coming from chilly. Fresh off the plane, Anthony and Melissa Lee. Great to have y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
How y'all doing, man? What's going on in good life?
We good. We just got off. Oh, you tired?
Tell the truth.
We just got off a crazy flight from Chile, landed in Miami, and then we got here. What's the first thing we did?
We ate Chipotle.
Ate Chipotle.
That's my.
So was it a good experience with Chipotle, or was it less than stellar?
It was great.
Great.
Oh, that's my favorite restaurant.
Okay, so I was about to say, is it high on the list or low on the list? Pretty high, huh?
Pretty high.
All right. So obviously we just met. We just connected via social. And there was just, y'all had light emanating from your relationship. I could tell you had a really meaningful journey that we want to tap into. But before we like to clear some business first. So to catch the moment, I always like to ask my guests, where were you the first time that you saw the helmet catch? And what were your thoughts or story, if any?
For me, I think we were at my parents' house. We usually would have a Super Bowl party because my parents had a church.
Nice.
During that time, we were living in Maryland. And so, yeah, it was just the Saints fellowshipping together.
Nice.
Everybody was pretty much rooting for the Giants because that's when Tom Brady and them was super hot. They couldn't lose. So we were so happy to see the Giants, take the Super Bowl. But that catch was just so amazing that's one of the things that everybody talks about. I have two friends, two close brothers, Sharif and Curtis. They were my groomsmen at my wedding.
Nice.
So before I even came, I told them that I was gonna come on the show and shout them out because they big G-Men fans. So,
okay, big shout out to Sharif and Curtis.
It was crazy.
I love it. I love it. All right.
And for me, since we're keeping it real,
keep it a buck.
Probably 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
Anthony told me that you reached out.
Yeah.
And he played the film. He showed me the highlights. And
what was your thoughts?
Wow.
That's dope. Well, listen, obviously, audience might not know, but you both are actually professional basketball players. The reason you were in Chile, I'm assuming, is that your last team that you guys play for, or is that just where y'all laying up in the midst of the journey?
That was just the last team we played for. But just to let the folks know, this is real life loving basketball.
Ooh.
So even how we came together, I know we're going to get into that later.
Sure, go for it.
That's just what our life is, and I feel like what God pretty much ordained. So this last place that we played at, we both were able to play on the same team, the same club. I was on the men's team.
Yeah.
She was on the women's team. But we had no idea that would even happen. So, obviously we can go in a little deeper on that, but it was crazy how it came about.
Oh my God! Okay, all right. So I'm trying to figure out. You already launched out to the deep. I'm trying to figure out if I should bring this back to the epicenter of the story, because I want to start with, because you both obviously have basketball journeys, but I understand Melissa's from Canada, you're from Maryland,
Florida.
Oh, you out here? You all over the place?
I'm from all over the place.
I love it. You like pastor's kid, military kid? What else?
Yeah, for real.
It's all going down.
Yep.
All right, so you from all over the United States. Mm-hmm. I'm like a pilgrim from Jersey. I never left Jersey, but I lived in 5-6 different places in Jersey, so it's getting crazy.
Wow.
So, but getting back to you. All right, so where does basketball start for you, Anthony? And I know you eventually make your way to Temple. So you talk about D1 basketball, some of the best in the country. And I definitely want to hear some of your journey with the sport as well. So talk to me how this begins to evolve and how the sport shapes some of your journey.
Man, I came right out the womb. Pretty much at 2 years old, my dad gave me a Fisher Price. And so I was playing basketball at 2-3 years old. So I have pictures of me dunking on the Fisher Price. I was a big Michael Jordan fan. I even understood who Michael Jordan was at 2-3 years old. Because my dad
and my mom. John Starks forever.
Wow. No Michael Jordan slander, man. He used to kill the Knicks. We in New York, Jersey.
He did.
Right?
I'll never forget Double Nickels. This took my soul.
Right.
Took my soul. You gonna win that argument. I'm just a ratchet Knicks fan. Hell the orange.
So that's pretty much how it came about. And I'll just fast forward. Well, my parents, they had a church. It was called Lion of Judah.
Nice.
And Life Changers. It was in Maryland. And shouts out to them, my whole family. But they started a church back then. And I grew up a pastor's kid. And I pretty much had, the talent to play basketball, but I was raw. I used to always go out and play with my dad because he played basketball. He played in college, but then he, had to switch and change just basically from God calling them to preach and pastor, right? So tomorrow's my birthday, but I'll just give a short story.
Okay, birthday's coming up.
So we both had the same birthday, and he pretty much, made a covenant prayer God, when he was like about 23.
Nice.
And so that was Jordan's year, right?
Yeah.
Jordan's number.
23, yeah.
So during that time, they went to playoffs. I think they were playing the Lakers, actually, Magic Johnson. So up until that point, he pretty much asked God, if you don't want me to play basketball, you want me to pursue preaching, then I'll pray that, my son plays basketball. And so he said, but if he plays basketball, I want him to first be born on my birthday. So I was supposed to be born in June, but I just happened to be born on May 24th. And the story with that was when he was trying to get my mom to have contractions.
Yeah.
And go into labor. So a couple of days before that, he took her down to Georgetown. I don't know if you've been to Georgetown in Maryland.
I've been through there, but yeah.
So he took her through some bumpy roads and he was trying to start trouble. He was trying to get him out, get me out. And it worked. It worked. And I mean, I've heard the story all the way up until this
Pop's
day.
got faith for real.
Real faith.
Faith without works is dead.
Right. So all his friends would tell me, they just say, yeah, he kept saying it and people didn't believe him. But anyway, so that happened. And fast forward, just in my high school years, I didn't start playing organized basketball until I was 14 years old. So
that's late these days. Yeah.
So I was a late bloomer, but I already had the skill, I had the knowledge because I would go play with my dad. We would play 2-on-2.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 against 3 because I could shoot back then.
Okay, nice.
I could shoot now.
That was the next question.
but back then, it was just...
You was good, way better than everybody.
Well, because the older adults didn't expect me to be that good. Right?
Got it.
And so... But anyway, so I started playing... high school ball, and then I started doing well. I was in Maryland at Hammond High School.
Which one?
Hammond High School.
Okay, I haven't heard that one. Gotcha.
So anyway, I played pretty good there, and then I was in 10th grade, and I did a lot of transferring. You know really? How it is for basketball players.
Okay. He telling the secret sauce. So
I played at a school at Hammond High School. Then I went to National Christian Academy where Kevin Durant, Michael Beasley,
nice.
A lot of good legends came out of there. And I got some good feedback, but a lot of coaches were telling me that if I try to come out now, I may not get a scholarship. So they told me to reclassify.
Wow.
So I reclassified, and the only reason why I got late into basketball because my parents were really into the ministry, and they didn't even know about AAU and things like that.
Yeah. So you was just hooping like a regular kid.
Just hooping. So when they found out, they got me into that, and then my parents started taking it serious because they saw I had talent, and I was just raw. So I reclassified, and then we moved to Florida. So it was like a faith move, even with my family.
Okay, Pops.
Moving us to Florida. So they stopped the church, and then we moved to Florida. And then my 11th grade year, I was at this school called Users High School, did real well. Then went to this private school called West Oaks Academy.
Yeah.
And then that's when everything pretty much
started
just blew up. Everything pretty much blew up just because at that time I was really deep in my faith. I'm a pastor's kid, so I'm sheltered too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to parties.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in the basketball.
So they keeping you right. They keep you on that straight now.
So all the goals and things that I wanted to do, I pretty much got to it. So I had no distractions.
Excellent.
And so I was like the first player to come out of West Oaks Academy, and now we have a plethora of players that just go deep.
Oh, so now it's a little bit of a gold mine down there in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where it started for me before I got to college.
All right. I can see it. Then you chose Temple, big ball over there in Temple.
Right.
Big shout out to the old Big East. I'm an old Big East head, but those days are long gone. But okay, now Canada, we have no clue. You got to expose us I know, we're so arrogant. We're so arrogant. We're prideful sacks of rocks. So what, I mean, just give it a few minutes to kind of shape what the pipeline like, because I don't even, actually I do know, it's a few players I felt like that have come out of Canada. Yeah. Isn't there one, is it Sue? Sue Bird? Who's in the WNBA that's from Canada?
Natalie Achanwa. Kia Nurse.
That's who I heard of.
Yeah.
I've heard of her. And I don't hear of too many people.
Yeah. There's a plethora of male basketball players that come out.
Okay, bet. I'm confess my faults. I don't watch enough WNBA. I'm like, but I knew one name. I'm like, there's somebody out here. Steve Nash. I know Steve Nash. Yep. All right, so you got a couple. So what's the pipeline? Do y'all have your own version of AAU? And how did you get into basketball to develop this love and this passion to pursue it still to this day?
Okay, well, to answer the first question, so we actually usually just go and play on an AAU team.
So
like
y'all just jump on pretty early.
Yeah, in the summer. So,
okay, got it.
So we will, like, for example, I played with like an AAU team in Michigan, and we would travel over. Or I played with we would form an AAU team in Canada, and then we would compete in the AAU tournaments.
Nice.
So that's where we kind of get seen.
Got it.
Because otherwise, like, coaches aren't coming to our games in Canada.
They ain't coming to the regular old high school basketball.
No. So that's pretty much the only way you get exposure.
Got it. Got it.
But yeah, my journey with basketball is a little different than Ant's. I kind of just, went to a camp one day because my sister was going and I wanted to do what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with the game. I don't come from a very athletic family, so it's just like,
yeah,
they're kind of just like workaholics.
So
she's Italian, by the way.
I'm Italian, so it's
really?
my parents. Yeah, I grew up in the restaurant business. It was just like work.
I never considered an Italian Canadian.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Like, of course, other people from other countries migrate.
Right. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so both sets of grandparents migrated to Canada during the war, so. And then my whole family, if we had a family reunion in my city, in Sarnia, like 75,000 people population, like small city.
Yeah.
We'd probably have like 150 people that just live in Sarnia. Like, it's just, everybody just stays in Sarnia.
No lies told.
Except for me.
Everybody's close. No
they
lies
locked
told.
in.
Everybody's close. Sister,
locked in for life.
Everyone, cousins, third cousins, fourth cousins, fifth cousins,
everybody. Snap. So you ain't getting away with nothing over there. You ain't getting away with nothing. They got real family, real community.
That's why I moved across the world. No.
He's like, okay, bye guys.
Right.
Obviously, the game begins to create a pathway for you guys. All right, so now we got to get into y'all's story to some extent. How do y'all meet? And obviously, basketball has to play some kind of way into this. How do you guys meet? Because you said loving basketball, and that's iconic. So give me the sauce.
Whose story do you want?
I was about to say, because me and my wife, we got two different stories, and mine is the truth. Nah, go ahead.
You wanna go
I'm
first?
sure it'll be the intersection somewhere along the way.
You can tell your story.
All right, stop me if I'm wrong. Okay. All right,
I love it.
You're wrong. No, I'm kidding.
So from what I can recall, she befriended me first.
Oh, first.
Social media?
Social media.
Okay.
Instagram.
Where you at?
Right?
On the gram, I slid the DMs. It's going down in the DM.
So this is about 5 years ago.
Okay.
2018. Yeah, but I feel like you started following me like at the end of 2017 because I was playing in Greece.
I just like your content.
Okay. Yeah.
She just likes content.
Yeah.
So she started following me, and I didn't follow her back right away, but it wasn't intentional or anything. I was in my own world. I was playing in Greece. During that time, I was living even that lukewarm life.
Yeah,
we can get
real
into
talk.
that,
We can get into that.
So I wasn't even paying attention to that. It was just another follow for me at that point. But then I just decided to follow her, looked at her pictures. I'm like, oh, wow, like, she looked good. You know what I mean? She dressed real nice. I mean, obviously has style. She's very stylish. I just felt like she was modest, too, because she wasn't like a lot of the other girls that I would still see out on the gram and stuff like that. But she still...
Listen up, ladies. Listen up. He says she's modest, too. So you got to have a little something. Show me a little something.
Right. But she played ball, so that caught my eye. And I was having... I was about to run my second camp that summer, and I was thinking that, I should invite some men basketball players, and then some women. And that was the first time I was coming up with that strategy. So I don't know what prompted me to do it, but
I know what prompted you.
Yeah. So, it was definitely God. But at that time and in that moment, I was really in a carnal state with God. So I was doing things for God. I felt like I was, but then on the other side, I felt like I was just being my regular self. So I wasn't thinking that deep.
Yeah.
So I reached out to her and I said I was having a basketball camp. But I think I initially just reached out and we just started talking.
Yeah.
And then I told her I'm having a basketball camp and I would want you to come. And the rest was history after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once y'all met in the flesh, it was something different.
Yeah. We got married quick. I mean,
say word.
You rushing.
Oh,
you
I'm
rushing.
sorry.
You rushing. You got to get to your part.
You got juicy because this is my kind of stuff.
How we met? You just told them.
So I told the truth.
Yeah, that was the
Can
truth.
you give me a hand?
Oh, big clap, big clap.
All right.
If me and my wife got on and told the early stages, I promise you, we'd be like, yo, I'm telling the truth.
Right.
We'll get to that off camera. So all right, boom. Give me timeline because obviously that's somewhere around 2017. You guys been married for 5 years.
We've been married we'll be 4 years this August.
Okay, 4 years this August. Y'all met 5 years ago. What year did y'all get married?
So we met in 2018. She just started following me 2017.
Got it.
I didn't respond to 2018.
Got you.
But it was early 2018, and I called her down to come to the camp. We met. We instantly connected, but we had talked for about 2 months.
We've been talking for a bit.
We had talked for about 2 months.
Yeah.
And there was just so many things going on, like just God revealing stuff. I was saying like, man, she's really a woman after God's heart, plays basketball, is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, like, and everybody else that I was talking to, it was always, they may have looked good, but they didn't have
they had the virtue.
They weren't living a virtuous life.
They was willing to give up the cookies. If they willing to give up the cookies, they ain't holy.
Yeah. So the thing is, even for me, like, I wasn't even living right at that time the way I needed to. Yeah. But a prayer that I had, even when I was in college, up until a pro in my first few years, I was always asking God, if you just gave me a wife that loved you, I promise I will let go of everything because that's what I desire so bad. Yeah. As a Christian, I'm like, all right, so I'm overseas. You condemned
like, already. Like,
so you thinking I can just go out here every year for the first few years and not have sex? And obviously, I know like you need to have the fruit of the Spirit,
power of the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
So for me, that's something that I had struggled with. Yeah. So it was like I was waiting for God to do that, but I wasn't even doing the right thing. But somehow He still gave me grace and still blessed me and allowed her to come in my life. And so when that happened, I knew that. She came down to the camp. We started kicking it and talking, and everybody thought we were together at that moment. Yeah. Makes no sense to me how they thought that. But we just had a connection, and then we started dating 2 weeks later, and then we got engaged.
In November.
So
that was what? So we
saw each other July 20th.
And got engaged in November.
Nice.
Married the following August.
Okay, so about an 8-month kind of courtship. Did you ruin the courtship?
No.
Good job. You held up. I'm proud of you, girl. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you credit because I know he was weak. I know he was weak. I know every time he saw you, shivering. Right. It's hard, man. Listen, obviously this is a righteous conversation. Everybody got their own set of values, but you know, you guys as Christians, and this is something that's great to talk about. You have these. You know, this is the amazing thing about God and just His sovereign will and getting us to places that He desires for us. But you have this answered prayer, even though you didn't fit the bill, God still saw fit to not, you know, to give you a heart's desire. Amazing stuff. Now, where were you at in your basketball journey? And as you guys come together now, I'm sure there's the thought of, what if you get to another club and you across the country? So how does that begin to? Because that's a lot of like, boy, I'm trying to tell you, it's enough to have one professional athlete, let alone two, with careers that are not always stable. Right. So talk about, you know, what your journey was like as y'all got married and how this thing, you watch God kind of like make this thing ironclad.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say when we first got married, we weren't so concerned about, I feel like we just kind of trusted that God would work it out. And that first year, he signed in Greece.
Okay.
And we were just praying, you know, Lord, open a door for me in Greece. And we both ended up on a team in Athens. Different club, but still in the same city.
Same city.
Right? And then the following year.
That was a big deal, though.
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal. Because you got to talk about how it happened. Like, details are important in this.
Right. You're a details guy. I'm to the point.
So we watched, so during that time, we was watching Transformation Church. You heard of Mike Todd?
I've heard of him, yeah.
So he was on this series called Crazy Faith. And it's our first year of marriage. And we're like, okay, like, how are we going to do this? Our first year of marriage, we just got married. Am I going to go overseas and play, and you're going to go overseas and play in two different countries?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So we were praying hard, and we, you know, this is during the series he was talking about Crazy Faith. He came out with the book, and so we just were praying, and it was praying in crazy faith that God would do the miraculous where we could be with each other.
Yeah.
And I signed to a team. She had no clue that she was going to sign to a team until we got there.
I just brought all my
She just brought all her stuff in faith.
In faith.
You know, she trained all summer, so it's like it would have been disappointing if she didn't play.
Yeah.
You know, and so when we got there, they had a team for her, and we were in the Greek A1 First League, and we were the first import couple to ever play in that league. Yeah.
Fire!
Yeah.
Hope y'all. This obviously sometimes when we're sharing a story, you gotta cause things to relate, because obviously faith is required to access anything, especially in relation to God. But even in relation to people who just have faith for things, there has to be actionable items. Obviously, you guys prayed and opportunity opened up, but you also followed in faith as well. I love the connecting dots. So obviously first year, I mean, y'all must have been, that's kind of like a nice little, that must have been real nice.
Yeah.
We're in Athens, man. You been to have you been?
Man, I ain't been. No, I've been in Jersey. Man. I've been in right where you see me is right where I've been pretty much my whole life, man. I went upstate to Syracuse. I went back down. I played with the Ravens for a season. And came right back to Jersey. These 7 kids locking me down, man. Can't get nowhere. Right. So I can only imagine, like you said, history. Right. So you probably leaning. Would you went to some biblical places? You went to see what?
Yeah, we were in Corinth.
Yeah. Them dirt bags over there in Corinth. Yeah. Hey, we a bunch of dirt bags. This is why we need the blood, okay?
I mean,
now talk about it.
Of course, we were able to see Apollo.
Yeah,
and the museum,
we didn't have too much time to do the tours. We would have liked to do the tours and stuff.
As far as biblical tours, we weren't able to do that, but we traveled. When we were able to.
That's fire.
Most importantly, we were able to support each other at our games, cheer each other on, and so. Just that and being married are, you know, what a combination. Or I guess I wouldn't say a tug of war that you have to try to, you know, iron out. But we're also our first year of marriage too. So we're still trying to really learn each other.
Now we about to get into the good stuff.
Because if you know, like while we were engaged, when we were engaged, we were in 2 different places. So I was in Turkey and Lithuania. She was in Belgium. So we weren't even together. We were just engaged. I had a surprise
apart all year,
So I made a surprise proposal. So my team in Turkey allowed me to fly to Canada because she got a break to go to her brother's wedding.
Nice.
So I was able to propose that day.
Yeah.
Fly in for a day to propose, and then we both flew back. But then I was in one country and she was in another. Wow. And so when that happened. Of course, the only thing that we're able to do is just talk.
Yeah.
So we're not spending so much time with one another. So flash forward to while we were married and playing, we're still trying to figure out each other's kinks.
Like, who are you?
She thinking I'm dirty.
Stop squeezing the toothpaste from the middle.
Right. So many things. I mean, you can attest to that and talk just about the challenge of being pro athletes and having to deal with each other as husband and wife.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me,
let's talk about what was the biggest challenge in that first year? Because I mean, like marriage is something that majority of people aspire to do and have. Once you get in the ring, boy, ding ding, right? Like, and you know you like this person, i.e., love this person, but it gets real. So, so what was the biggest difficulty of that process of becoming one?
Well, first thing for me was like, I'm used to having my own space, my own career, and then, you know, going to practice sometimes twice a day, games on the weekend. And then now I like have the responsibility of like feeding a 6'9" athlete. So that was like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, it's a whole new challenge.
Yeah.
And then I think just like any couple, like athletes or not athletes, like just learning how to communicate effectively, learning each other's likes and dislikes, what buttons that we can push and not push. You know?
Right.
Things that come along with any new marriage, I think, you know, and then you're overseas and you know, you're dealing with those challenges on top of the challenges that come with any, you know, new marriage. Is just, it was a lot, but you know, we made it out the mud.
Well,
go ahead.
For her talking about all the meals she had to feed me, she's an unbelievable cook. So
okay, nice.
She didn't get into it, but her parents owned a restaurant. She grew up in a restaurant cooking.
Tell us what Italian food?
Italian, yeah.
Nice.
My parents didn't believe in babysitters and nannies. Just like take them to work, and you know.
I love it.
On
the job training.
You can walk.
You work.
You're gonna learn how to cook.
That was at 4 or 5 years old. How old were you? 6?
I mean, like probably 3 when I started. You know, I remember my mom telling me like her staff would be like, Marina, you know, Melissa's running around the kitchen with a knife, like, and I'm like this little kid. Oh no, she's fine.
I love it. I love it. See, we can't even do stuff like that as parents now. We get arrested in America.
Right.
You know, like we so cautious about everything. There was a time where there was some liberty and freedom.
Right.
So her just being able to do that, she was really.
So she was dynamic.
To me, and I told her she was more prepared for marriage than I was.
That's what I was about. Come on, man. Come on, let's talk about, you know, because we are different dudes as men, right? Like, so, you know, obviously I'm 19 years in, and it takes every bit of God. It takes every bit of a real support system / community, family to kind of shape. And one thing that I talk about is marriage is a learned behavior. Like, parenting is actually a little bit more instinctive, whereas marriage is very much a learned behavior. So talk to me on your end where your challenges lies, was now you have a lot, you're responsible for a whole beautiful woman. So, you know, like, what does that do to your psyche? And, you know, like, you know, where were the greater challenges for you?
Well, first, she was the one to actually just kind of expose some of my, like, the selfishness I had.
Yeah.
You know, and I hear people say that all the time, but you don't realize it until you're actually in it.
Yep.
She was a better communicator than I was.
Well, this is so humble. You out here being honest in these streets. I love it. Thank you, God. It takes a God to be honest and humble.
But I got humble. But I had to realize it because a lot of
Was you fighting at first? You was resisting?
For sure.
Like, nah, man, it ain't me.
Yeah, for sure.
we call that the Adamic nature.
Right. And I didn't realize this, but she did some really good things before she even prepared for marriage, like just reading books or just kind of getting herself in a mindset. And I was just ready to get married.
Come on, bro.
Like, I knew the stuff that you have to go through and endure.
Yeah.
But in terms of properly communicating the right way.
Sure.
Making sure that I'm really just putting her first. I'm caring for her feelings.
Yeah.
And not mine. Those things, those were a battle because I was still in my own world. Like, I was glad to have her, you know, playing together. But then certain things, I was just like, all right. Like,
you wanted to go do you.
Yeah, I wanted to go do me. And just like little things, like she may have come home and, you know, she cooks 3 meals a day. So I just gotta give her props because I don't do really any of the cooking. She does all the cooking. She cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I can cook a little breakfast, but she does it all while playing basketball. So in the beginning, I wasn't ever really cleaning the dishes a lot. Not because I didn't want to, but I just felt like, all right, I'm just sitting there kind of in my own world, being nonchalant. So there was a lot of things that I had to grow up in fast. And so that's where some of the disconnect came in.
Yep.
And just, you know, I had to grow up.
Big.
But I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it. You was over there under the weight of Anthony Lee.
Right.
You know, the role of a husband is very much to create an environment of nurture, care. And I tell people, I said, women are, God, you know, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, but we are different. And women are wired to be able to do more. They multiply, right? And you know, typically men, right? It's not that we can't do more, but we're wired to do things narrow and deep. And it's amazing because my wife, again, 7 children, she runs our store, you know, and I'll selfishly say this in a godly way, but the feather in my cap has always been I've created an environment where my wife can flourish and be able to be successful in multiple things. But if your woman is worn down, if she doesn't feel supported, if she doesn't feel, that's what began, because women are wired to do far more than men, you know, and I just think that's just fearfully and wonderfully made. That's what makes them that. But we have to create the environment that's there to nurture, care for, so that they can flourish. Right. And I'm a big supporter. So my wife like, yeah, I want to get my master's. I'm like, okay. But you know, you still got to raise these kids and make sure I got a couple meals. That's like real. We can do anything, but we still have to kind of maintain our role and understand. Right. So, right. All right. So life is still happening because you guys have this dynamic story. But who has been either your biggest examples, supporters, or, you know, because you guys are living an international life. What does that look like? Because anybody away from their family is always at a loss. And obviously you guys don't have children just yet, but still the support system, and who are the people that are framing you and supporting you in a way where you guys are continuing to flourish in your relationship, not just with God, but just in your relationship, period.
So we actually, you know, on a weekly basis, we meet with our, I would say, counselor, Pastor Cope.
Nice.
Pastor George Cope, and he's just been really like life-changing for us. It, like, just, you know, having that accountability.
Yeah.
Someone who is much wiser and more experienced than us, especially in the field of marriage.
Oh, God, yes.
And, you know, he's just got so much godly wisdom.
Yeah.
And we've been meeting with him consistently for like, what, 2 years now.
Big deal.
On a weekly basis. So that's been huge for us. Like,
excellent. And he's here in the States, so y'all jump online?
Yeah.
Great. Good deal.
We do video call with him and when we're overseas, and it's just a great way to just, you know, keep us accountable whenever any issues rise up, and, you know, just someone to just bounce things off of, even when there's not issues, just someone just to talk to and, you know, pray over us. And it's really been changing for our marriage.
I'll make a comment about George Cope because I've known him forever. I've known him since I was in high school and living in Orlando, and I introduced him to Mel when I brought him in and asked him, can he counsel us? Because I like to talk and get things off my chest. Yeah. And sometimes early on in marriage, you kind of go to the wrong people, or you feel like that, you know, you can trust them to an extent. But at the same time, remember, they have their own feelings.
Sure.
Too. And that because they know you before they knew your spouse, you know, just things can go one way or the other.
You have to make sure you protect your marriage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you have to do that. So going to someone who didn't know Mel at all, but he knew me, and me just being able to talk to him about some of the issues I feel like I had, you know, just kind of going into the marriage and just trying to deal with it. And it wasn't nothing really crazy. It was just the typical stuff that men have to deal with. Come on, bro. Not being responsible, not being really mature, and just really loving God really loving your wife the way God intends for us to love our wives, right? Like,
that's excellent. What I love about you guys, you know, like you number one, obviously, you know, Christ is the center of your own lives and your pursuits. Talk to me like about, you know, because the professional basketball dynamic is something that's just heroic and a monumental pursuit, as well as an accomplishment. Because, you know, like once you enter to the international, it's a constant pursuit, and it's worth it. It's worth it. You're still pursuing a dream, and like I tell people, being a professional athlete is still like living a dream. But it's still work, right? So on both ends, there's something there. But you guys also have a sense of purpose in relation to, you know, eternally, your marriage, and understanding your platform. Talk to me about your platform together and some of the things you already talked about, the camps. What does that look like, and where do you both see that going, you know, as you continue to walk this out?
Yeah, so I mean, I think everywhere we go, our mission is like, it's bigger than basketball, right? So we have kind of our brand is more than us, right?
Nice.
So it's not about us. It's about just spreading the word, spreading the light, right? We don't necessarily need to push it in anybody's faces, but we're always there to have that conversation. And I think every place that we've been able to really like minister to people and, you know, really open their eyes, like even if it's just 1, 2, 3 people.
Yeah.
And then of course everybody else is watching us, right? They may not say anything, but they're seeing how we act. They're seeing how we treat others. They're seeing how we behave in adversity. Like there's a lot of times overseas where we have challenges or where we may be treated unfairly, and they're seeing.
Oh, I need to hear about this.
They see how we react to those things, and it's not in a way that they're used to seeing a typical foreign player react. So
nice.
Just being an example, and then obviously like when the Lord leads us to have those conversations with people, it's just been amazing. Like.
And make sure everybody check out More Than Us on the gram and wherever we can find. And I know you guys are, you got some dope content. You guys are clearly, you can get a sense that this is authentic. And I think that's the main thing. You know, I'm willing to have every conversation, every dialogue. I'm so radical for Christ. But at the end of the day is be a man of integrity, be a person of virtue, be a person of honor. And I think, at least you're not taking away from an environment and you're adding to. So no journey is kind of packaged, like people can look at you guys like is because you're overcoming, like there's nothing to overcome, right? And I think that's the wrong connotation. So talk to me about maybe what some of those challenges can look like overseas, or what has been the greatest obstacle that either individually or collectively that you guys have had to press your way through, biggest pain point, where it's like, man, maybe you were hopeless for a minute. Maybe, you were in a season where, that valley season was kicking your fanny and, you needed one another. So talk to me about some of the, unseen things that maybe we're not always getting to.
Overseas basketball, there's a lot. There's so many great basketball players that play overseas, but there's a lot of things that just the general public back in America don't know that some of the American players have to deal with, whether American, Canadian. So it's a challenge within itself, just to, go through the grind the entire basketball year, because you have some teams that are very professional, some that are just there to use you and just, soak you up of all your talent.
Takers.
And even if you get hurt, even if you haven't gotten paid, they still expecting you to give your all while they're, in debt to you and stuff like that. So since we've been together, we've had some challenges. There was,
business. Let's just
call it dirty business.
Stuff that doesn't happen in America.
Right. Ooh.
So although
checks ain't cashing,
I mean, dang, we didn't have our experience. That's the least. But although we're in a beautiful country, because we always love to say, like, obviously, this is a job that we signed up for. So we love the experiences.
It's a choice.
It's a great perspective, right? Because that's the reality is majority of the things that we're pursuing, we're choosing to. Right. And recognizing that this might be some of the costs of this pursuit. Great.
So we definitely count up the cost, but what makes it better is that we're together.
Nice.
So while we're experiencing some of these things, in marriage, the Bible tells us to cleave and cling to each other.
Come on, my boy.
So since we have each other and we're in the Word, we really have to dig deep and pray and just ask God to bring us through. But there's been a couple times, but I just named one time, talk about the time in Greece where it was just, I got injured and then, I was just trying to recover from a growing injury. But the main point was just wasn't getting paid, right? And we're talking about, this is a league with players getting 6-7 figures. So even on my team, I wasn't getting paid. Pretty much all of the U.S. players weren't getting paid. But what happened was I was one of the key guys from my team, and I was out for a while. Melissa was still playing at the time.
Yeah.
So I was trying to nurse the injury, but then all of a sudden, you know, the team was expecting me to be back. And obviously with injuries, they take time. So you expect the team to take care of you. And some teams just don't do that, right? A lot of teams do, but just depends on...
Take care of you financially, or was it take care of you medically? Did they just push you to the side, give you a cold shoulder?
Yeah,
both?
Medically. If you can walk, then you can play. And we know, and we understand that.
We know that's not always true.
As athletes, we know how to play hurt.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're injured, it's a different thing. You can cause the injury to get worse. So they'll still put you out there, even if you're not 100% recovered sometimes. It depends on the team.
Yeah, that's big facts. Big difference between being hurt and injured. And basketball, you know, I ain't gonna shade y'all too bad, you know. I ain't gonna shade y'all too bad. It's some warriors out there, but it's not a lot.
2 against 1
I know. I'm gonna lose. I can't lose. No, but like I said, it's definitely, and honestly, y'all I don't know what how many games y'all typically play in like overseas, and it's obviously it's a lot more games. It's a different kind of wear and tear on the body. And so I'm not going to sit here like I speak from experience, but injury is injury, and that demands recovery before you could even get to the point where you can maybe be hurt and still ball. So I totally get the difference, and it's important to establish that, no doubt.
Right.
So they was shading you on the medical and the financial.
Both.
And so that's no good.
So we had to make a choice. I'm talking to my agent, and they want me to. I'm talking about Peninos.
Yeah, no.
So go ahead. You.
Oh well.
Yeah, go ahead.
So good.
Go ahead.
That's behind us right now.
Go ahead. Add on to it.
Oh, so then they were trying to shift us out of the apartment into a hotel, this crummy little hotel that was a shack. I was
they tried to put you in Chilligan's Island.
I'm not going in there because once you get in there, you're not coming back out. So I was like, no, we're not going. So we had to just
they were like threatening us.
Dang.
To the point where, okay, first year married, not even, only 4 or 5 months in. My wife's scared. I'm feeling like, okay, what are we going to do? They have the owner of the house telling us we have to get out.
I had my butter knife ready.
Nice.
Telling us we had to get out.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah, we have to get out, but they have to pay. Like, they have to pay us, but then they also have to pay the rent for where we're staying.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sometimes that was late, too. So we're like, what in the world is going on? And like she said, we Bonnie and Clyde. Like, we just kind of got out of there. And it came out in the European articles because all the players on the team pretty much came out.
Not about you.
All the came out public, so they started talking about it.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. So
bags.
Like, stuff like that. I mean, when we talk about stories for days, that was probably one out of many. And I'm talking about this story I've had before I got married.
I mean, it's something every year.
And
then tack on, the language barrier, the being away from home.
So in general, with the places that you've been, are most of the fans happy to see the American athletes, or they okay? So you just never know. It's like because America, is America, and when you're the top dog, it's kind of like the Patriots, right? Now, they deserve some of that hate. They deserve, but when you're the winner, you never know what kind of sentiments. Now, we know we got most of the juice and, So, give me, you talked a little bit about range. So I'm sure most people could only imagine every league is different, every team is different. Salary ranges, what does it look like for professional basketball salaries in so many of these leagues? What would be the range of people in your position?
It varies on how much the team has, what their budget is. It can be the position.
It varies from country, and even within that country, right? So you have for example, Greece, right? They have a pretty big budget.
Yeah.
But then you have EuroLeague teams like Panathinaikos and Olympiacos. Have you heard of those teams before?
Of course not.
Okay.
Listen, I'm so fun. Yeah, we got some other folks who actually pay attention to international. I got 7 kids, man.
Right. Fair enough.
It's all good.
So they're the EuroLeague teams, and they'll have 7 figures, about paying
6, 7 figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll have in that same league someone at the bottom. I don't know. Maybe the Americans are just scraping. There's not much. Yeah.
Pay $80,000.
Less.
Oh, man, I was trying to get y'all y'all pursue y'all doing this. Y'all doing this for the love of people.
So it just depends. And then you go to China and it's I would say most teams out there have pretty big
millions.
Budget.
Yeah. So like
it just depends.
And it depends on the continent.
Yeah.
You got Europe, you have Asia, you have South America. I don't care where I go.
Yeah.
But I like traveling. We like exploring. So I think even experiencing other continents that have even bigger budgets is something that we would want to experience too.
Hopeful, praying
right? And so, but I feel like we made a hard. Well, it wasn't even a hard pivot or anything. But you play basketball. You put a lot of your stock into who you are. You know what I mean? And this being, your livelihood, and you kind of fall so deep into how good you play and the bad games that you have, and you think that that's what your entire identity is, shaped up in. And so being married, I think, has helped us really know what our purpose is.
Nice.
And like she said, like now when we go overseas, wherever we go, it's really God led. Like we really pray about it. Like, God, is this it? Is that it? Is that not it? And then when we go there, we're asking Him to like lead us to different people that we can minister to. And it's like that's become more fulfilling. And I feel like we still have 5, 6 more years, 7 more years left. But it's but I feel like that is the goal for us. Of course we're gonna go play, have fun. But it's like seeing souls saved is really what we're about. And it's like as athletes, it didn't take a long time for me or her to get that, but I feel like our stories and even how we really came to surrendering to Christ totally. Yeah. We had to shift our minds to know, okay, I'm playing basketball, but I'm not just that. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm more than a basketball player. I'm more than the status quo. So it's like when we go over there, we're going there on a mission to play. I love it. And to, soul win for Christ. So
obviously, I love your faith. We align there. It's like the collision of purpose and passion, right? And, I tell people what you're willing to suffer for is where your true passions lie. And, the greatest thing that I have to be willing to suffer for is Christ, giving your life. But ultimately, the sport, the metaphor sport creates a passion for you. Obviously, it gave many of our lives, especially as young kids, a lot of direction. All right, so obviously y'all are still at the cusp of, just continue to define your journey. Y'all lay hold of God with your purpose, and you see your life and your light reaching out into different places beyond the court. What would you say up to this point has been your defining moment? We could have talked through it, but I like to, because you guys have had tremendous success. I want to celebrate that, because sometimes when you're in these kinds of stages, you might not feel like it's a big, big success, and it is. So what has been the defining moment for you both?
Obviously, I'm a basketball player, pro, been playing forever, but part of my testimony is my most defining moment was when I was at Temple. I was a freshman, and I got hurt, and I came in to college pretty much, on fire for God, wanted to do everything right. But then I got to Philly, and it was just a whole nother story. So I'm dealing with a whole bunch of Philly dudes who, in my mind, I'm first going to college to just play basketball, and I'm thinking everybody's mature. Yeah. So me being sheltered and in a household where I was protected, I still had fun and went out, but I did things most in the church with youth groups, youth camps, everything was pretty much in the church. So when I experienced all of that stuff in college, I felt like isolated, because during that time I told my teammates I was a virgin. Yeah, so because they clowned me, but they was asking everybody, and so I was putting myself out there about my faith. But once I started to see that was separating me more from my teammates, then that's when I had to realize, okay, like God, like, all right, I'm doing this for you, but I'm also trying to be an example, but this is not turning out the way that I expected to. So I was, I came in as a highly touted freshman, and some people thought I would start, like the fans or just the coaches and things like that. I remember getting asked, if I was going to start over one of the senior players, which I knew I wasn't, but it was just a lot of hype around me during that time. And so with me just trying to live right, letting them know where I stand on certain issues, I got ridiculed for that. I thought that was my persecution that you see, like Paul and Peter and all those people, what they went through. And it was persecution to a certain extent, but I feel like I didn't really know what it meant to trust God at a point where I gave it all to him.
Excellent.
Because I was thinking that, you know, God was just going to protect me from a whole bunch of stuff. So when I got hurt randomly. I was in the hospital. I had to get surgery. I was out for the season. And basically, I remember telling God, and it's part of my testimony and why it comes full circle.
Yeah.
In the temple, I told God, I said, you know what? I said, I'm just going to do it my own way. Because honestly, so many things are happening wrong that I didn't expect to happen. And I'm like, I just don't trust you. So my defining moment, and obviously it's a bigger testimony to that because a lot of things I had to go through, but I'll just say my defining moment in that, and it would just be something I would encourage athletes out there, all of like high school, college, pro, is don't forfeit your purpose to try to compromise what you think is pleasurable now when you know that God is calling you. Sometimes he's taking you through a storm where he's just trying to see how much you're going to put your trust and value in him instead of trying to please other people. And when you compromise that early, you kind of shut the door to some of the things that God wanted to take you through. And so a lot of times when you figure out why we weren't able to do this or that, you know, although all things work together for the good, sometimes we can redirect our course. Just like on a GPS map. If you see it taking you somewhere and you go off on a wrong turn because you think you can get there faster and short circuit it, then God would just say, hold up, wait a minute. Like, I love you enough that to whatever you're trying to get to or what you want to do, that's not the way I wanted you to go. So I have to redirect you, get you back on the right path, make sure you don't lose your soul, make sure that you are totally surrendered to me so I can give you the fruitful blessings. And that's what I feel like a lot of athletes that are young, that have grown up in church like I have.
Yep. It's a lot of them.
They get caught up in just the culture and society, the peer pressure. And a lot of times, until you get a one-on-one, you don't even know that they go to church until they tell you, like, behind closed doors, oh, yeah, like, I know that song, Marvin Sapp, Never Would Have Made It. Or, you know, the Kirk Franklin song, Silver and Gold. And so that's the sad part. And the turning point for me, again, is not even what I experienced because there's a testimony behind that, but the turning point is me realizing that you never want to, what is Matthew 16:26? What is the profit of man to gain the whole world but lose your soul? So although we may be talented as athletes or just regular people, you don't want to forfeit or lose your soul over the things that are temporary now. And so is more so a message than just a turning point.
Yeah.
And sometimes even since we've been married, I used to go back and the devil used to just tempt me so much, like, well, what if you did everything right? Like, if you started to do everything right and then go the path that you went on,
what's the point?
Maybe you would have made the league. Maybe you would have been able to be around this player or that type of stuff. Because, I mean, my story is really crazy, and I know we don't have that much time to talk about it.
Listen, bro, we good.
But that's why it's so important for me to share that message now, because I feel like people are wanting to forfeit their will, their knowing of Christ for things of the world that don't last, right?
Doesn't last. It doesn't last. I love that you actually shared the other side of that as the defining moment. Most people share the victorious side versus the sobering moment of when things went south. And because I really believe that that's actually the way it works, meaning, you know, God has this perfect desire. So people missing the mark is one of the definitions of sin, to miss the mark. So it means that there's a perfect place that God intends to get us. Even when it says our children, it says your quiver will be full. That's for arrows. You're supposed to shoot your children in the direction, right? So that's how it is with God and his children. He has a perfect desire when sin is to miss the mark, right? So sin is lawlessness, but it's also to miss the mark. So when we sin, we're missing the mark. It doesn't mean that you always violated a transgression. It was that was not God's desire for you. And sin is the easiest way to miss the mark. When we transgress something, it's the easiest way to reroute the GPS and to delay the will of God. So I definitely want to hear, because like you obviously both are one, but you're two individuals. For you, what would you say is your defining moment?
So mine would probably be my first year that I went pro.
Yes.
How
story.
I just came to know and love Christ.
Now, was that a part of your foundation growing up?
No. So quick background, I grew up in the Catholic Church. You know, Italians is like strong
Catholic, not
right?
Christians.
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad was kind of like the head of that, kind of dragging us to church. There's this nice clock over there. I was watching the clock the entire time, thinking about, you know, what I was going to eat for breakfast.
No doubt.
And that was about it, right? I wasn't listening, wasn't paying attention. I had zero relationship, zero knowledge, nothing, you know. Didn't really get anything from, probably 20 years of going to church every single Sunday.
Wow.
So
it's a lot of time invested.
What's the joke you say? You up and down, up and down.
Oh, yeah, you know, okay, yeah.
I felt like there was a dance that was supposed to go with that. And she shaded that she didn't give us the full experience.
Change the workout.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the masses. Were you? I got you.
So, I mean, we're hard Italian family. Like, we're Catholic, and there's no question about it. Like, you're going to the Catholic Church and yada, yada. So, fast forward, just quick about basketball. My dad was the one who brought me to all games, all practices. My mom was working a lot. She kind of, you know, took care of the restaurant while my dad was away, and he was just a sports guy. She wasn't, you know, that into it. So
got it.
She did her stuff. He took care of the sports.
I got this.
And that was that. So he was kind of like, you know, it's funny because everybody asks us, like, especially overseas, the kids love asking us, who's your favorite player? Who's your role model? Who's your idol? Whatever. Who'd you look up to? I'm like, I never looked up to any player, like nothing. It's just my dad. My dad was like,
I love it.
That was my guy. And then so fast forward, 2014, I'm graduated from Western University in Canada, and my dad passes away about 2 months later.
Oh, man.
Right? So I'm like in this kind of limbo of a stage. I just graduated. I want to go play pro overseas. My dad just passes, and I'm like, what do I do? Right? Like, you know, I have no faith base. Like, that's my guy. That's my basketball guy. Like, you know, he's the one that's I was expecting to just
lean on,
you know, come overseas with me.
Where's my buddy?
Yeah. So I really didn't know what to do. So I call up my agent, and I'm like, listen, I had told her no, I'm not going. I'm going to stay home. And then I called her up probably a week after my dad's funeral, and I was like, do you have any teams? Like, I know everybody's probably already signed and all the deals that were on the table probably gone, but like, is there anything? So she found me this, like, you know, pretty low level team in Germany. I was like, that was all that was left. I'm like, cool, sign me up. Let me go. Okay. Let me get my foot in the door.
Wow.
So this is 2 weeks after my dad's funeral. I'm on a plane to Germany. I'm like 23 years old.
Okay.
Right. And my mom and my brother came over with me, which is great. Helped me get settled in.
Nice.
And, you know, they stayed for like a week. And after that, I was just like...
Just there.
I'm in this foreign country. It's my first year overseas. Just graduated, like, straight out of school. My dad just died 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I had nothing. Like, I couldn't speak to anybody. You know, nobody really spoke English. And so I really had, like, that to me was like a pivotal moment. Like, I just had to basically find myself, right?
Nice.
Find who I was. I was, you know, I believed there was a God, didn't believe there was a God, like, not really sure, right? And, you know, there's key people who would speak into my life and just tell me about Jesus. And I really think that they were like really sent to speak to me at that moment, because it really...
Were they in Germany, or these were people back home in the States who just loved on you?
Yeah, I had...
Nice.
You know, I have one friend, his name's Sammy. I went to school with him, and he was in Bible college at the time, and he would just call me, just, you know, just to see how I was doing. But then, like, he was just very about the word. Like, okay, do you have a Bible? Like, okay, download the Bible app. Like, you know, I didn't have a Bible at the time.
You get this word in your soul.
Yeah, and, you know, and asking me about how. So the first conversation I had with him, which was devastating for me, was about heaven, right? Yeah. And he's like, "What? How are you dealing with with the loss of your dad?" And I was like, "Oh, you know, it's been really tough, but I know I'll see him again one day." "How do you know that?" And I was just like, "Just
that's how you know they're the real deal."
Put the hammer on me, right? So I'm a type of person, I'm not gullible. So I can't just, like, someone tells me something, I have to understand it for myself, and I have to do the research myself, or else I'm just not believing you. So you can tell me about this Bible, you could tell me anything you want, but if I don't understand it for myself, then it's just another book to me.
Yeah. There's a good part, and it's called unbelief.
Right. So I had to, you know, I really.
So you dug in.
I dug into the Word, and my faith just grew and grew and grew, and God just kept placing the right people on my path to, you know, minister to me. And
love of God.
Yeah, so that was just
obviously that's the progression. At what point was it like, Jesus is my God? I'm no longer. I'm not serving my father's God. I am encountered to Christ. The word of God is true. This is who he is.
I would say about 2 years later, 2016.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, August 3rd, the day we were married. We got married.
You told me this stuff.
We got married August 3rd, 2019. But
that's when it really just like,
that's
you know.
when I was like, okay, like, I surrender. I give my life over to you. And like how you talk about, like, it hasn't been like lukewarm, like, I've just been like all in since then. Like, I'm just
excellent.
You know, arguments that we get into sometimes, I'm just like, well, what does the Bible say?
You know, the powerful thing about having Christ as the center of your marriage is, and I think this is, you know, like, and there's like, you know, you got folks. This is the spiritual climate. Everybody's nebulous. When you say spiritual, that's not saying anything. Everybody's spiritual. Spiritual just means invisible. It's like so. But as a Christian, to say that Jesus is my God, it gives us a value system that is higher than our own, right? So when you talk about what anchors a marriage, the reason why so many marriages fail is because they typically, you know, when it's just you and you have yours, you have yours. Well, we have a standard that's higher than ourselves. Christ is our standard. And, you know, he's the ultimate mediator. And of course, we have other examples. You need all of it. You need all of it from every different angle. But ultimately, God is, you know, the beauty of the faith is that I don't have to come up with ideas about how I live. I don't even have to come up with that many ideas about how I think. You know, I want to put on the mind of Christ. It's like, you know, it's like it serves me in this way, whereas his ways are so far greater that if I can adopt them, learn his humility, learn his heart, every relationship that I have will flourish. And you guys have put that into practice. I know this is, you know, like I said, obviously it's in motion, and you're tapped in beautifully, wonderfully to your purpose, your passion, and I'm excited for what's next. Share whatever you guys want, what's happening, what's new, and where people can find you.
What's happening? Well, we're back.
Yeah.
We're going to try to enjoy the summer as best as we can, see family, train, and but we go back and forth between Canada and Florida just to see our families. But wherever we are most of the time, we pretty much try to run skills clinics or things for kids, you know, while we're in town, because we love giving back and we just love trying to help basketball athletes, you know, trying to get better in their craft. So we do that. We do, you know, mentorship within that as well. Like if we have the opportunity to even share Christ in that matter. But well, the Instagram is Antley Jr. ANTLEEJR, and then we have a couples page. It's called More Than Us. It's _ More Than Us, and so that's
big love,
baby.
Come on, tell them, Mel. Tell them your personal mail. Let's go.
Oh, stuff's private.
Oh, yeah. Her stuff is private, but if you guys want to follow her cooking page,
I don't know if it. Oh yeah.
Her cooking page is Seasoning with Love. She's bomb, and I'm not just saying this. Everywhere we go, I'm always telling her, let me invite my teammates over, And then, I mean, shoot, from the reviews of it,
I
everybody
think DeAndre
loves.
came over every week this season.
Yeah.
No, twice a week.
Every week?
Yeah,
They love it. So tap into that too. But
I love it. Listen, man, you guys are a dynamic, clearly a dynamic. You guys are, you have an advocate for sharing your story. You have an advocate for your platform. You have an advocate. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, locked in. You have an advocate. This is always about getting you to your next moment. About getting God has that next moment. God has that desire. God has that ultimately. God, we wish you the best. That ultimately flourish in every area of your life. In every area of your life. Best that you continue to flourish.